Imagine a battlefield in ancient Rome where heat and dust mix with the metallic sound of clashing swords. On one side, young soldiers full of energy but still inexperienced. On the other, fierce enemies determined to break the Roman power. When the fight becomes truly desperate, a last line of warriors enters the action. Hardened men with scars that are almost a map of their past expeditions and battles. These are the Triarii, the true elite of the Roman infantry. In our next few minutes of video, we will uncover how this legendary troop came to be and why they became Rome's final hope on epic battlefields. Today we will delve into a story full of twists and turns, courage and strategy. You will discover how the Triarii evolved from simple soldiers to become the most feared and respected reserve of the Roman army. And not only that, we will talk about notable historical figures such as Marcus Furius Camillus, the military reformer, who paved the way for these changes, and Publius Cornelius Scipio, the man who challenged Hannibal Barca, Rome's greatest nightmare, transforming this troop of veterans into a secret weapon capable of turning the tide of battle. But before we dive into this incredible story, make sure you are already subscribed to our channel and turn on the notification bell. That way, you won't miss any of our videos full of historical curiosities about ancient Rome. The origin of the Triarii. In Camillus's reform, to understand the birth of the Triarii as an elite force, we need to go back in time and learn about the reforms that shaped the Roman army. Are you ready to discover the beginning of this journey? Early, Rome, influenced by the Etruscans and Greeks, had tactics based on phalanx formations. This rigid model worked well on open plains, but showed flaws in rough terrain and against more dynamic enemies, such as the Gauls. It was in this context that Marcus Furius Camillus emerged, an influential and charismatic figure whose vision pointed to the need to change the Roman military organization. Upon realizing that the old phalanx formation was not efficient, Camillus proposed a restructuring using infantry lines. In these lines, soldiers were separated according to age, experience, and wealth, resulting in three main categories: hastati, the youngest; principes, men with some experience; and finally, the triarii, the veterans. This last line was not just a reserve force, it was the essence of Roman confidence in times of greatest need. Camillus's great merit was to understand that in order to guarantee Rome's survival, it would be essential to have men in the field who would maintain the cohesion of the army when all else failed. In this way, the Triarii gradually consolidated themselves as the backbone of any legion. Although they were not called upon frequently, their mere presence brought security as they symbolized the last hope of victory. The tactical importance of the Triars. Did you know that the Triars were not just the third row by chance? There is more to this formation than you might think. Let's find out why they were so feared on the battlefield. The Triars stood out not only for their age and experience, but also for their tactical formations. While the hastati and princes engaged the enemy in the initial crossfire, the Triars remained still, waiting for the right moment to act. This posture conveyed calm and confidence, in addition to saving energy for the height of the combat. In the event that the first two rows failed to break through the enemy defenses, the Triars advanced with unwavering determination. The battlefield boiled in chaos, but they emerged as an organized force, undermining the enemy's morale. Thanks to their accumulated experience, they knew how to react to surprise strategies, unexpected flanks or ambushes, becoming true military problem solvers. The Triaries' weapons were also not just any old thing. In addition to the scutum shield, which was more curved and resistant, they carried spears, the shafts, that were ideal for keeping enemies at a safe distance. If the shaft broke, they would resort to hand-to-hand combat with the gladiator, a short, sword that was deadly in the right hands. The combination of experience, discipline, and top-of-the-line equipment made these men the cornerstone of the legions. Have you ever wondered how this formation shaped the destiny of the entire Roman army? Leave your like now so we can continue bringing you stories as impactful as this one. The everyday life of a triar. Before we talk about the great generals who commanded these legendary troops, how about we take a peek at what the daily lives of these veteran soldiers were like? The routine of a triar began early, often with rigorous training. Although older, they were physically challenged as much as, or even more so, than the hastati and princes. The experience of war also taught them the importance of maintaining discipline even off the battlefield. Proper nutrition and constant repairs to their equipment ensured that they were ready to fight at any time. For these men, wearing armor meant more than physical protection. The shield usually bore family symbols or tributes to ancestors, and every detail strengthened their sense of identity and honor. In times of peace, they helped maintain fortifications, secure cities, or even train young recruits, imparting valuable lessons that only real-life experience could teach. There was also the emotional factor. Being a Triarius meant dealing with the pressure of being the last hope in every battle. Many stories tell of these veterans spending their nights in vigil, either praying to the Roman gods or mentally revisiting the strategies they had learned. When the war trumpet sounded, they knew that if their time to take the field came, the responsibility of saving the entire army would weigh heavily on their shoulders. Marcus Furius Camillus, the reformer. Now that we have seen the role of the Triarii on the battlefield, let us turn our attention to the man who paved the way, Marcus Furius Camillus. Marcus Furius Camillus was not just any general. Many historians call him the second founder of Rome for having saved the city at critical moments, such as during the Gallic invasions. His leadership skills and strategic vision were crucial in solidifying the foundations of a more flexible army, capable of dealing with the challenges of the Italian wars and future expeditions. Camillus assumed an almost paternal attitude towards his soldiers. Observing the failures of previous formations, he realized that by creating combat layers, hastati, principes, and triarii, he would be able to not only optimize military strength, but also ensure that more experienced men would act as a second or third chance for campaigns. He also saw the importance of rewarding bravery and discipline, which made the Roman legions increasingly cohesive. His methods left their mark on future generations and directly influenced the most profound reforms that would occur in the following years. Without Camillus, it is quite possible that the formation of the Triarii and the Roman way of waging war itself would not have evolved so quickly. He left a legacy of discipline, determination, and strategy that inspires leaders to this day. Did you already know about Camillus's vision as the great mentor of the Roman military reorganization? Write in the comments and share your ideas. The rise of a new generation of heroes. If Camillus paved the way, who came after him to face even greater challenges? Get ready to learn about the rise of a generation that took Rome to a new level of power. After Camillus's death, the Roman Republic continued to expand. Each conflict served as a stage for the emergence of new generals, ambitious young men willing to lead Rome to unimaginable conquests. Among them, a name that would become legendary began to stand out: Publius Cornelius Scipio. In his youth, Scipio watched Camillus's ancient stories with fascination and dreamed of writing his own story in the annals of Rome. While Scipio learned war tactics and rose through the ranks in the army, the Triarii continued to be the pillar of trust of the troops. Many veterans looked to Scipio and recognized in him the spark of leadership that Camillus once possessed. It was only a matter of time before the young general rose to prominence, facing Rome's greatest challenge to date. Hannibal Barca, the military genius of Carthage, political tension was also growing in Rome. With each victory, the Republic felt the need to further refine its formations and strategies. Camillus's reforms were good, but the world was changing rapidly. The Punic Wars were approaching, and with them would come battles that would relentlessly test the strength and structure of the legions. The Carthaginian challenge. Hannibal knocks on the door. You ready to dive into the conflicts that almost put an end to Roman supremacy? It's time to learn about Rome's greatest nightmare, Hannibal Barca. Hannibal Barca was a natural strategist, son of Hamilcar Barca, another great Carthaginian commander. With the promise of eternal hatred for Rome, Hannibal dedicated his life to defeating the Latin power. It was no coincidence that he carried out one of the most daring military maneuvers in history, crossing the Alps with war elephants, completely surprising the Romans on their own territory. The legions, already reformed by Camillus, still faced great difficulties in the face of this Carthaginian genius. Battles such as Trebia and Lake Trasimene showed that the Romans, even with their lines of Hastati, Principi and Triarii, were not prepared for such strategic audacity. Roman confidence wavered, and many wondered if even the Triarii could contain Hannibal's advance. Hannibal's arrival on Italian soil set off alarm bells in the Roman Senate. A worthy general was needed to face him on equal terms. It was then that Publius Cornelius Scipio began to demonstrate his capabilities, gaining respect and authority to lead the Roman counterattack. And it was at this moment that the story of the Triarii became decisively linked to Scipio's fate. Have you ever wondered how this event shaped the destiny of an empire? Leave your like now so we can continue bringing you stories as impactful as this one. Scipio and his surprising strategy. How could anyone face a genius like Hannibal? The answer lay in the boldness and creativity of a young commander. Let's see what Scipio did to turn the tables. When he took command of the Spanish front, Scipio brought new ideas to the Roman army. He studied Hannibal's tactics in detail, trying to understand his weaknesses. He realized that the flexibility and ability to improvise, so characteristic of the enemy, could be countered with the same coin. To do this, Scipio needed to make sure that the different categories of soldiers, especially the Triarii, were capable of rapid changes on the battlefield. Throughout the campaigns in the Iberian Peninsula, Scipio used the knowledge accumulated by the Triarii to his advantage, placing them in unconventional situations such as flank attacks. These veterans, accustomed to being the last line, often shocked the enemy by appearing in unexpected positions. The Triaries' reputation as the final wall remained intact, but now they were joined by a versatility never before seen. With significant victories, Scipio had earned the trust of both the troops and the Roman Senate. His next step would be to face Hannibal directly on African soil, in the heart of Carthage, and so the stage was set for one of the most iconic confrontations of antiquity. The Battle of the Great Plains. Are you curious to know how Scipio tested his strategies before the final battle against Hannibal? Then stay tuned for the next decisive moment in the Roman campaign. Before reaching Zama, Scipio faced the Carthaginian forces in the so-called Battle of the Great Plains. On that occasion, the Roman general devised a plan in which the Triarii would be the key to a surprise attack on the enemy flanks. The idea was simple but risky: to feign a frontal attack formation with Hastati and Principes, while the Triarii would remain hidden, waiting for the exact moment to emerge and strike the Carthaginian army from the sides. The execution was impeccable. In the heat of the battle, the Carthaginian troops focused all their attention on the Romans who were in front. Suddenly, like a bolt of lightning, the Triarii appeared on the sides, closing the siege and generating total panic among the enemy. The victory was decisive, further cementing Scipio's fame and proving the versatility of the Triarii. This success on the Great Plains raised Roman morale to new heights. The Senate renewed its support for Scipio, allowing him to advance to the final battle. The question that hung in the air was, would this same strategy work against Hannibal Barca himself? Did you already know this intriguing detail? Write in the comments and share your ideas. The meeting with Hannibal in Zama. Finally, we arrive at the confrontation that would define the fate of Rome and Carthage. Are you ready to relive one of the most epic moments in ancient history? The Battle of Zama brought together the best and most deadly on both sides. Hannibal brought his war elephants, while Scipio positioned the Roman ranks in an innovative way, opening corridors to neutralize the animals' attack. In the center, the veteran Triarii waited for the moment to enter the action. This time, Scipio decided to use a mixed formation, placing Principes and Triarii side by side in the final stages of the battle. When the Carthaginian elephants advanced, the corridors created by the Romans dispersed the initial impact, and many of the animals became disoriented. With the elephants out of the picture, Hannibal saw his main force gradually collapse. Then came the critical moment when the Triarii and Scipio advanced together, taking advantage of the Carthaginian desperation to deliver the final blow. The Roman victory was overwhelming. Zama not only decided the Second Punic War, but also cemented the legend of the Triarii as the veteran troop that had once again saved the fate of Rome. After this battle, Scipio was given the title Africanus in honor of his achievement, while Hannibal became a political exile in his own homeland. The final legacy of the Triaries and the reform of Gaieus Marius. Now that the Carthaginian threat has been neutralized, what has become of these veteran warriors? Follow the conclusion of this epic story. As the years passed, Rome's needs changed. Territorial expansion required ever larger and more permanent armies. Gaius Marius's reforms in 107 BC professionalized the Roman army, making the old division between hastati, principes, and triaries obsolete. Instead of relying on citizens who served on demand, Rome began to recruit and train full-time soldiers with standardized equipment. Although these reforms made the legions even more efficient, they marked the end of an era. The Triaries, as a distinct unit, ceased to exist. However, their courage, discipline, and reputation remained as an example of military excellence for later generations. Even without an officially active rank, the spirit of the Triarii lived on in the tactics and determination that would characterize the Roman legions in later centuries. In this way, the history of the Triarii reminds us of a time when a handful of veterans could decide the fate of an empire. They represent the importance of experience, unity, and sacrifice in the name of something greater. And despite so many transformations, the legacy of these warriors still echoes in the narratives about the greatness and strength of Rome. The journey of the Triarii is a true epic within Roman history. From the initial reforms of Marcus Furius Camillus to the decisive battles against Hannibal Barca, these veterans proved that courage, discipline, and experience can overcome even the most desperate situations and show how the tradition of the Triarii still inspires us. They were more than just a line of soldiers. They were the unbreakable pillar that sustained the glory of Rome in its darkest moments. If you enjoyed this trip through time and want more fascinating stories, subscribe to the channel, leave your like and activate the bell so you don't miss any of our next videos about ancient Rome. Share with your friends and help us keep the memory of such extraordinary feats alive. Thank you for following us, and until the next historical adventure.